Well, hey there, it's Mr. Bleeker here. By popular demand, a lot of my students have been asking about Google Forms. So, these quizzes, these online tests that I've been making and using in class and using for formative assessment, people have wanted to know, what are you doing with Google Forms and what's that all about? So, the purpose of this tutorial is to show you how to make an online assessment. I'm a big fan of formative assessments. I'd love to use Google Forms for a summative assessment, something that sort of counts that goes into the marks book. But I digress. I really want to get into this and show you what it's all about. Okay, so if you've got a Google account and you've signed into Chrome, it doesn't matter what environment you're in. You could be on a PC running Windows, you could be in Linux running Chromium, or any of the other web browsers. You could be in Mac OS X, as I am now, running this particular version of Chrome. Once you sign in, that necessitates more or less having a Google account, Gmail, etc. Links you to Google Drive. So in this tab, it's just a quick snapshot of some of my Google Drive stuff. But in Google Drive, Google's done a really good job here of centralizing sort of different file types that you can create and save on basically a virtual hard drive, right? Think of it as a virtual flash stick. And you can save not only files, but if you stick with this, you'll be able to also, through Google, install applications or web apps. But that's for a different lecture. What's neat right now is if you wanted to go to Google Drive, now I'll just show you a quick way to get there. Just type drive.google.com. That's it. Secret of the universe right there. And it will redirect you as necessary to your Drive account. So you'll see My Drive, and there's aspects of this you can explore through here. If you choose to share your photos, that's fine. That's up to you. But when you say that you want to create a file type over here, click New, you get some neat choices. You can upload a folder, a file. So the traditional ones that you would think of are kind of here, right? Like Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides. Click More. Now it depends on what you have installed with Google, right? You might have a couple of additional apps. I like playing with GeoGebra, right? Or GeoGebra, depends on how you say it. But Google Forms themselves are exactly what it says, web forms. And that's a place where you can create forms. Think of it as creating sort of like tests. I think that's a really easy way to think of it. You could create questionnaires, you could create quizzes, tests, etc. So you get into an environment like this, and you're like, well, what the heck is this? So, being the biologist I am, I'm going to create a mammals test. So, quick quiz on the mammals. There you go. So that'll be the focus of what I'm doing. If you'd like to change the color or play around with it a little bit, you can move this around. But for now, I'll just say cancel. You could do the folder organization your own way. For now, my advice, just create the file. Okay? So there's a few options up here showing progress at the bottom of the pages. As the student or person fills in your form, they can see how far they've gone through. So let's say it's 10 questions. It would show incrementally how many questions you've done. If you've ever done an online questionnaire, you've seen this a million times. Okay, quick quiz on the mammals. Let's throw in a couple of sample questions, sort of get our feet wet with this. So I'll zoom in. So the question title, I'll ask 5 questions in this whole quiz. Okay. Question title: what are the fundamental characteristics of mammals? Okay, so what are the basic characteristics? Okay, now I'll keep it quite simple. I'm not going to put in help text here or anything fancy. approaching this, I think a really easy way to sort of visualize Google Forms is to think about the testing that you've done through school. So how would you like this answer to be submitted? How would you like the person to give you information? Would you like it as text, a longer paragraph, maybe a couple of choices, wrap that in check boxes, and there's a couple of ones down here that you would don't come up all that often. Let's keep this simple. Let's say this is a multiple choice series of answers. So, what are the fundamental characteristics of mammals? Okay, they have hair, produce milk, give birth to live young. Okay. Option two, typical multiple choice test. You could produce different answers. They have scales, claws, produce eggs. So I'm obviously thinking of a reptilian answer there. And I'll just put down just a few, because I want to speed this along. You could say that they are, well, it's an old term, cold blooded, produce eggs, and I'm obviously heading towards something reptilian, amphibian, or fish like here. Produce eggs, have a short lifespan. Okay, that's a bit hokey, but just three quick answers. Okay. So in your quiz, what you've done is you've asked a question, provided three responses, and you invite the person who takes it to answer. Okay, fine. Now, what becomes a little bit more interesting is you can, well, if you don't feel like typing multiple responses, you could come over here. You can edit by clicking that button, which lets you into changing it. Okay. You could also click duplicate. If you have a series of multiple choice questions, you might just choose to duplicate, and I'll show you what that does. There you go. So if I hit escape, you can see that what it's done is it's made a copy of that question here. That can be handy if you just really want to do some quick edits, right? So maybe you want to say all mammals are. And just for fun, there we go. Okay, humor me. So I'll provide that. So those are a couple of sort of standard question sort of responses. Now, if you wanted to add an additional item, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. Let's say that you want to add an item, and I've got a couple of links up here. So what I've done is there's different types of mammals. There's monotremes, are egg layers, so think platypus here, folks. There's marsupials, right? These are sort of semi-placental. Their babies have to finish their development in the pouch, right? Cute little koalas and possums and things. And then there's the full-blown placentals, in which the young internally develop to a quite a finished state, right? This is pretty important. When you're talking about mammals, there's really three orders that you need to be aware of. So, being the biology teacher that I am, I'd ask a question about these. So if I come back to a quick quiz on the mammals, I'll add an item. So when you go to add an item, you'll see that there's some neat choices down here. So let's say I wanted to show you a picture of a particular mammal and ask you a question about it. So click image, and here you get a chance to present that image. Now you might have downloaded a photo, but one of the better ways to do this, and I think it's a lot more legitimate because I don't feel like I'm sort of stealing pictures online, is to go to pictures of, let's say in this case, monotremes. I'll just find a cute version of a platypus right here. That's got to be it right there. Absolutely. So what you can do is you go up to the address bar and just copy that. Not stealing anything, I just want to borrow it. The information's already online. And I say that I want to use the web link. Okay, URL is just means the web address. Okay, and paste your URL in here. So I'll just paste that in, and look at that, it's already there. So I'll say select. So give this a moment to adjust, and you've got a cute picture of your platypi. Oh, look at that, I can use it plurally. So image title, we would say, what is this mammal? Ooh, mammal. Pretty cute. And what's neat is you could center it, or you could justify it left or right or whatever you want to do. I'm a fan of just keeping it left, and you can adjust the size to massive or not so massive, maybe a little sort of thumbnail representation, and you hit done. So what is this mammal? And done. Now, hover text, you have to be sensitive here, and think about the fact that allow for people that might not have your level of visual acuity. If someone is surfing your form and they can't see the picture, visually impaired, you should say a text representation for the image. So this picture resembles a mammal that lays eggs. And that's pretty fair. I mean, that way you would actually know what the heck this picture is all about. And that's what I'm all about. Bam. So now you say, okay, what is this mammal? So you put a descriptor there, and you're going to say add item. And at this point, say, oops, not add item like that. You would say multiple choice. Okay. You could have copied and previous multiple choice entry and pulled it down here, but at this point, you don't. I don't think you have to fill this in. You could just put options because I've already said what is this mammal. So let's throw in a couple of options. You want to put in good distractors. So you could say it's a placental mammal. It's a oops, come on there. Marsupial. Right? Placental, marsupial, and say it's a monotreme. Oops, spell it right there. And just for fun, I have no idea, but choose to donate a mark to science. Apparently those add up to Starbucks points. Okay, bam, done. And that's neat. You didn't actually have to put a question title in here. So now you've got your response series in place. You're good to go. Now, if I zoom out a little bit, I'm going to show you some rearrangement ideas. I know that looks pretty far zoomed out. If you wanted to move things around, for example, if you wanted this question to be in this position, right, you can pull and drag these around. I find this to be a little bit frustrating. My advice is to zoom out and look for that blue corner there, because you can pull down. See that? If you stick to the side, it's pretty easy to do this. When you duplicate questions and sort of response styles, you can get a little frustrated in moving things around. And again, just look for the drag four-sided arrow here. Reminds me of Photoshop. And you'll be able to rearrange your items. Okay? So the whole point of doing a quiz like this, don't think in the sense that, it's just going to score itself. What you're doing with your class, or for the person that you're surveying, is you want to ask them things. And in a moment, we'll look at what a response might look like. Okay? Think formative assessment. And that's a bit of teacher lingo for saying, I want to see what you think the answer is. And I want to discuss with you, maybe live, or you can do it. You could have a quiz that a person does at home, and then the next day you can say, well, I saw some interesting responses. What the heck was with the answers? And then you get a chance to see sort of the crazy responses or the unique responses people give, and you can chat about it. And it's very, very important to find out why people respond the way they do without costing them marks. You want to teach. That's what I'm doing here with these Google Forms. So I'll do one more, which is pretty neat. Let me just make this a little bigger. This time I'm going to add an item. Okay. And I had a placental mammal's picture here, but what if I said video? Okay, so placental mammal, let's say, let's grab a elephant. So if you wanted a video, let's say something cute of an elephant. So this is elephants communicating on YouTube. No, I just want a YouTube video. Now, when you do forms through Google, it tends to look at YouTube content. Okay, so there's something cute there. So in this case, I'll borrow the address of that YouTube video and go back to my quiz. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an item. Now, this is really neat. There's two ways to do this. You could say, I would like to use a video to ask questions. Okay. Now, you could just go here and type elephant and hit search, and you'll see various things on YouTube about elephants. I also think it's pretty neat to go to links in this case, and this happens to be a YouTube video. And this is baby elephants at play, because who doesn't love baby elephants? And watch what happens when you say that one. In video search, you could have just chosen baby elephants, but in this case, you can supply the address of something you love. Say that one right there. Now look what you have down here. Now this makes online assessment fun. So you've got your baby elephants. Look at them go. Oh, cute. And video title, and you say, what order of mammal is a baby elephant? Question mark. Okay, one question mark. I won't overdo it. And you could say add an item. Like, okay, I could replicate this, right? I could go the long way and say add an item and do multiple choice again. But here's a smart thing to do. You've already got your responses here. Now watch. If you hit duplicate, you've got, and I'll hit escape, see how you get a second duplicate entry. Now this is where it gets frustrating. You can pull it down and you'll see sometimes it didn't move, right? It's still there. And I've had that issue with Google Forms before, but I'm patient. If you zoom out, on a Mac, you hit Command minus a couple times. On a PC, you just hit Control minus, or if you're in Google Chrome, whatever, right? Control minus. And there you go. I didn't have to do work in re-entering the data. It's just all there. And you could say, what order of mammals is a baby elephant? And there's your choices. And if you think that it's too obvious, you can go in and edit it, and you can rearrange. Like, if you want to be sneaky, you can move those around, right? You can go like that. And if you hit escape, look at that. It looks like your stem of choices, where it says these four in this order. Lovely. Now you can see that I've sort of reordered them a little bit. Okay, really neat. Now, I've made a short quiz. There's a lot more I could do. You come up here, and you can test your form. You could say, all right, obviously no one's taken your quiz, but you can view the live form like that. So the form looks like this, and it's not bad looking. I mean, there's your elephants, right? Make sure, by the way, that when you include a video that you don't give away the answer. So it's pretty cute. Look at them go. I don't have a lot of sound here, but look at our little guys go. Now, this is a whole new class of question when you include video, right? We think about color diagrams in biology and start drooling. Imagine what happens when you introduce video content and you've got these little cute little devils running around, right? These little guys don't stand a chance. So cute. Oh, little intervention going on there. All right, good job, Mama. So what we've got is variable items in a multiple choice form. And it looks like this. Now, if you want to edit the form, you can go back and you can edit it and play around with it and sort of look at what it adjusts the items. But if you come up to this sort of toolbar right here and suggest change theme, you'll see that really what you had was the basic look. Now, there's in further videos, I would talk to you about customizing. In the early going, I say it's best to just find a good looking form, something that's noteworthy. This is biological, so, well, here's something scientific. Looks cute. And you notice that it applies a style sheet and it changes the way that your form looks. That's fine. And in further videos, I'd talk about how we'd make this look even neater. Look, here's a hint. If you click on Customize, you'll get all sorts of options of things that you could change. For now, that's not the point of this video, but if you wanted a better image for the header, you could upload a different picture. I don't know, maybe the African savanna. That'd be a good idea. So this is what your form looks like. Looks pretty good. Now, you're wondering, okay, so what does the live form look like? Well, the live form looks like this, and it's very slick. And the address that you have up here, right here, is something really that only you know about. That long string of text is the address of where your form lives on the internet. So what you can do is you can make that a link. Now, if you send somebody a link through an email, you could conceivably copy and paste it in. But it's a little bit of a pain if you are working with a group of people and you say, hey, I'd love you to take my quiz. Now just enter this address. And people look at you like you're from Mars. Now, I've shown this before. If you have a Google account, I'll make a new tab. There's a Google shortener, and it's called goo.gl, like that. And goo.gl is the Google shortener. Now, you have to be signed in to do this. So what you do is you feed it a ridiculous, you feed it a ridiculous URL or web link, which is, for example, this. So I'll copy this. And if you go to goo.gl, which I have pasted up there, and you paste in that ridiculous address, yeah, good luck getting somebody to enter this live, and you hit shorten, then what you have is you'll see an image show up here, and you'll see that right there. And folks, all you really need to do, forget the HTTPS, blah, blah, blah. Even the goo.gl, all you really need is the goo.gl and this little bit here. Okay? So you copy that. And if you're in a class or something like that, and you want somebody to take your form, I'll call up a simple text editor. I'll just say File New. So you could do this in Notepad, right? And I'll make it bigger. You just have this sitting up on the screen. Ooh, let's increase the size of that window. When people come in. So you make it really huge. The truth is, all you need is that. So people get a little confused because they don't know that this is an L. Okay? Now the rest, they should be able to type. My advice, huge advice from experience, is choose something like Times New Roman for a font. And I'll tell you why. Because Times New Roman will put the little foot decorations underneath the text, although some people might think that's a 1. You tell them it's goo.gl and then to enter the rest. Fonts like this are a little more distinct and help the user figure out where they're supposed to go. But the Google Shortener is just what I like to call gravy. It makes things a little bit better. If you're really awesome at this, and if you've played with this and click details, there's that QR code right there that you can paste onto school posters and things like that. That's a lot better, right? You can scan that with your phone. You see this quick response code in restaurants and things. And it's pretty neat because that code in goo.gl, if you just click details, you can copy and paste that image as you need. But what really matters is you have this short little web link to your form. Okay, so now I'm going to copy that and I'll go to Firefox because right now I'm not signed in to Firefox. Now I have it for testing, so I'll just go up to my address bar and paste. So there's the short version, and look what we've got. Here we are, quick quiz on the mammals. So I'll take my own quiz. They're endothermic. Yep, they keep their bodies warm. And they have hair, they produce milk, and their babies are kept internally. Sounds good. What is this mammal? Well, I wish I had cute. I know I know that it is a monotreme, but I'll make a mistake and call it a marsupial, like a kangaroo. And I'll say this particular mammal here is placental. And I'll hit submit. So I took my own quiz. All right, so that's pretty neat. And the neat thing is you have your audience take your quiz, and this is like clickers, right? And if you've seen clickers at university, right, you've probably seen, there it is, these things, right, where everybody chooses their response, A, B, C, D, and you check to see what everybody said. It's a good idea. I'm not saying it's not. But what's pretty cool now with Google Forms, let's close a few windows, we don't need all this, is we'll go back to our forms here and look at that. There's a response. Woo. Now, if you're ready to turn off a quiz, you click responses, and if you click responses, it'll say you're not accepting responses. So you can cut off a quiz right when you're done. You can re-enable it by clicking this so you can see that's on or that's off. Really useful. So I'll turn it off. And if you view responses, now this gets kind of interesting. You could see that somebody at this time, some crazy person, took my quiz and these were their responses. So it takes your responses and puts it in a spreadsheet. That's awesome. What does that mean? Well, everybody takes the responses, and what I want to know is who said what? So if I go to view the responses, this is where it gets powerful. Oops, haha, that's not what I wanted. I want to view a summary of the responses. So that's the one I wanted. Sorry. Responses, view responses shows the spreadsheet, but a summary, that one, is what you'll see now. Okay, so it was just little old me answering the test, but it draws pie graphs to represent the answers that people could give. So in this case, it's just one respondent. Everybody said warm-blooded, everybody said this, and everybody said that these choices were correct. Now, if you have 30 students in your class and you have all of them take a quiz like this, what you can do is you'll see slivers of responses. So what will happen is you could see some students that enter an incorrect response. And if you see a lot of students answering in a way that you wouldn't suspect, now you can look at these distributions and say, I think I better go over that. That's not quite right. Right? What's up with that? The last one down here is just how many people took your quiz, and it was a whopping total of 1. That's me right there. Okay. So, these are called analytics, and you get a chance to look at the result of your own data. There's your live form, right? And if you own the form, you can even turn it on by clicking this link. But I'll just get rid of a few of these windows. Responses. I'll reopen the quiz. And if you view the live form, there it is. Now, what's amazing about this is flexible enough that students, given the goo.gl, so if they're given that link right there, so just have them do this portion, they can take that on an iPod, on any smart device, a laptop, what have you, and they can take the quiz and they can do it live in class. And this gives you a chance to do really great work with BYOD, which is called the Bring Your Own Device, alternatively known as Bring Your Own Technology Strategy. Okay, so I've harped on and on about how to make a Google Forms quiz. What is an amazing experience is to just make one the first time. It's a form that puts information in a spreadsheet, and because it goes into a spreadsheet, what you can do is you can view the responses as a summary. So this is kind of like Microsoft Excel graphing the data for you, which is awesome, and it's real-time data. So you can get a analytics of what's going on. You can really put your finger on the pulse of what people think if you do a test like this. And I'm not kidding. Not at all. Because if you look at recent ones, this is a Biomes quiz that I gave to a Science 10 class. And we did this, I'll just turn this quiz back on. And let's view the live form. And this is a Biomes quiz that I gave earlier today. And I asked questions about what kind of a biome is this, and we went over different possibilities. So pretty neat. And then at the very end, sorry, I'm not trying to make you dizzy, asked about animals of the world. So I put in a picture of these animals and said, which biome would you find animal number 1? The cute little flamingo. And it was really neat. Did this a couple of times. And the last question was a video and said, what's creating these clouds? And it's pretty neat to run a video like this, and it's time lapse, and ask that kind of a question. It's just a great, great experience. And we had students take it, 31 responses. I'll turn the quiz off, and you can look at the summary of responses and take a look at what people said. And here's those slivers I was talking about. And this is information. This is what people think. Pretty interesting. You've been teaching, and this is how they're responding. If they're making mistakes, you can adjust. If you're making mistakes, like for example, boreal forests and coniferous forest taiga, oops, that's a mistake by me. I just was hurrying up with the form. I shouldn't have both responses. But you can look at the data and figure out what is going on. And that's great investigation. Even if you make mistakes, it doesn't matter. The point is, you can understand what's going on and why people are responding the way they are. Okay, so that long-winded, as always, explanation is how to make a Google form and maybe with a little bit of gusto telling you why it's important. It's not what it is or what it can do, it's why you might use it. If you want to get feedback from an audience, this becomes a way of doing clickers with the devices people already have. So instead of saying a person can't bring technology into the classroom, try using it and see what kind of a dent it makes in the universe. Okay, folks, that's Mr. Bleeker, and that's it. And thanks for listening. Ciao.